just had to do my usual cutting
Intro.
you off.
As always, we have to cut each other off, but Ben, that's why I love you. We're just both so excited to talk about all the games and everything this week. But, as always, everyone out there listening in our audience, welcome to the Keep Pluggin Podcast, week number 18. That's right, our podcast is officially street legal.
Yeah.
Watch out, world.
We got a couple news items today.
We do. Numero uno, as you might be able to tell, we have microphones.
Hopefully you can tell in a good way.
Hopefully in a good way. We got two blue microphones, courtesy...
They're actually white, though.
Well, they're called Blue. That's the name of the brand. But,
I know.
Okay. We have two blue Snowball microphones that we're using, and they were provided to us very generously by our returning guest, Mr. Dan Roach. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm doing well.
All right.
How are you?
Doing wonderful, Dan. It's great to have you back. All right. So, Dan, we had you on for a couple reasons this week. Most importantly, numero uno, we just wanted to, you offered to bring us these mics, and also, we had a couple topics that we wanted to discuss with you. But for the moment, as we do every week, we are going to take a now three-way look back. We actually have two games to go with our big jumbo theme for this week. So, Ben, kicking it off, what's the first game we're going to look back at this week?
We got BioShock Infinite, which dropped on June 1st on the Macintosh.
All right. So, what year did it drop?
2013.
2013. All right. So, this is a 4-year anniversary of BioShock on the Macintosh, right around only a couple months after the initial drop. So, more or less a pretty much, even drop. BioShock Infinite's a game we've actually talked about a little bit during a previous looking back segment on the original BioShock. I believe same thing. It was actually a Mac release too in that case, or it might have been it was PlayStation 3 because that was what I played that on.
It may have been, yeah.
I think it was because I remember commenting that I played it on PlayStation 3, so that was part of the reason we chose that. Anyway,
yeah, I actually played it on the 360. I had at the time hooked my 360 up to my computer monitor because I didn't have a TV yet, or there was something weird. I was like trying some shit out, but
the original BioShock or Infinite? Are you talking
Infinite?
About? Oh, okay.
Fun fact about BioShock Infinite is I was actually playing the end of the game when Brian was at my house, and
yes.
I realized that, everything was about to end right there, and I just told Brian he needed to go because I knew he hadn't played it yet, and I think that ending cutscene started, or I might have even told you to go before the final battle, so I beat the BioShock Infinite while Brian was in my bed. And if I remember when I went and got him, he was looking pretty cozy. By the time I finished that game.
It had been a bit.
It took a while, yeah. That final battle gave me I didn't realize. That was the most frustrating thing for me with that game, with the ending. I didn't realize what the true objective was. I didn't remember. I didn't realize you had to protect the hub.
Oh, if I may, you're talking about that last battle on the airship. Yeah, that was a little confusing. I died a couple times on that one. I died a couple times on that one, too. It was a little confusing.
Yeah, BioShock games, for some reason, they have, interesting endings, I'd say, to put it nicely. But, yeah, the first one had that weird boss battle, and this one was cooler as, this battle scene, where you had to control the bird. But it's all about the story. It's for the ending cutscene.
There was something cool about the inverse of getting to use the bird. It actually served as a nice ending to the arc, or it served as a lead up to the ending of the arc between Elizabeth and the bird, which was Songbird. That was such an interesting character, such an interesting dynamic. That is something looking back on the game that I kind of wish had gotten explored more in the DLC. I liked Burial at Sea, and I liked the idea of it, but I think a lot of people felt similarly, that there was a lot of missed opportunity to kind of explore some of the characters. I don't know, do you guys feel similarly? I kind of had wished that the DLC for that game had explored the characters of Columbia a bit more, because there was so much interesting stuff there. Yeah, I know Daisy Fitzroy, I would have loved some more about her, although I think she's very well fleshed out in the game. Particularly Elizabeth and Songbird, I think that's a relationship that...
Well, they did flesh out Elizabeth because you play as her. Absolutely,
but I think specifically her relationship with Songbird, it's well drawn in the game, but I would not have mind going into that in a little bit more depth,
I mean, the Burial at Sea was the final DLC drop. Yeah, that one I love because, the opening is just this amazing portion of, no guns or shooting or anything. It's just you're walking through this beautiful, serene, amazing scenery.
Well, there's Burial at Sea Part 1, and then you're talking about Burial at Sea Part 2. because part 1 has guns in it, and that's actually the only one that I've played. Does it? It has guns in it, right? Are you just Booker, or are you like you don't know who you are?
You are Booker. You're like
the second
you're
one,
an alternate Booger man.
Booger DeWitt.
Yeah, Booger DeWitt and his
Booker
baby.
With the Elizabeth one, they give you more of an option to do the whole thing stealthily. So I kind of took that option, and I preferred kind of BioShock. To me works better when the gameplay isn't clashing with the story. So I just decided to take it on a more like towards her character. I feel like she would have played it more like slyly.
And that was a cool thing about that. I know a lot of people mentioned that about Burial at Sea Part 2 in general. I know most people regard Part 2 as a stronger one. And this is interesting because this is something even way back when we did the BioShock retrospective, we kind of ended up talking about Infinite a bit. That was one of the things I brought up at least, was that I love that game so much, but one of the few issues I do have is that there are times that the gameplay, which is like very hyper violent and a lot more shootery than the exploratory, more System Shocky design of BioShock 1. And also, to bring it back to a more recent game we played, Prey. Prey is, like I said at the time, very much so a spiritual successor to BioShock 1. I don't think I ever explicitly said it, but in a lot of ways, I think a game like Prey actually has more directly in terms of its gameplay in line with the original BioShock than Infinite even does. Infinite, again, is a little bit more shootery, a little bit more direct, and that's not bad. It's great gameplay, but I do like the idea of... One of the things I always heard about Part 2, rather, Burial at Sea Part 2, was that you could play as Elizabeth, you get that different experience, and it seemed more like the gameplay and the design were coalescing.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like, you want that coalescing nature. But I definitely, like, for me, of course, I've said it's about the story. What do you guys think of the story? I think that's, like, honestly, BioShock Infinite is, like, to me, at the time, like, I guess looking back, it's a little different, but to me, it feels like a modern Bible story where, like, Elizabeth is God and kind of has this amazing, like, cyclical nature with the dimensions and everything making, it's infinite.
Yeah. Oh, it's this beautiful amalgamation of, like, Christian ideology and, like early 20th century scientific ideas. Because, like, it is this beautiful, heady ending, and... Well, everyone talks about the ending, really, when they talk about the game, but you didn't talk about that specifically. That's my fault. Because that's the thing. I feel like everyone always jumps to it, but the entire game is building up to that moment. There's so many beautiful things there. It's a very, I think in a lot of ways, logical, heady game, but I do think that spiritual element is still very much so present. Whether it's Booker's lack of faith, which is a big element of the game, obviously it's the difference. And if you guys haven't figured out by now, full spoilers, so for some reason, if you haven't played the game, should have been gone already, but definitely
we've managed to not really spoil it so far.
But honestly, now that you've mentioned it, it's like, it's yourself, right?
Yeah, it's yourself.
It's an alternate you, and
the main villain rather is an alternate version of you. Yes.
And you kill him, right? In that room.
Well, no,
that final room.
He basically begs you to kill him, and then yeah. And
then it's all about the pinky.
Yes.
It's all about the pinky. It's going forward, yeah.
Dude, that's moment,
the key to everything.
That dimension closing moment where you realize that that's her, like, thimble pinky, and it all comes together.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's great.
They really lead you to it on that one.
Yeah. It was funny, too, because so many people were shipping them, too, before the game came out, and it was just, like, in that moment,
what?
There was a lot of people who, like
wanting them to, like, get together.
Wanted them to fuck.
Basically.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people are still shipping them, years later.
He's not entirely wrong. That's the sad part.
Yeah, also that brings up, though, how the whole companion system works, and, like, in gaming history, there's always these annoying companions where you have to protect someone, and it's just, actually, there's an interesting part in Breath of the Wild like that, but, with Elizabeth, it definitely works well, where they just decided to not have her, you don't have to worry about her.
Yes, they did a pretty beautiful thing there. Although it is interesting because she's so self-aware and she's so self-sufficient. I know one of the things people kind of brought up in a joking manner is it's almost like she doesn't need you. But, I mean, that's kind of the point, though. She is this godlike figure, and, like, it is a little bit more of it's more about the personal connection than your desire or your attachment to helping her as a character, or her literal necessity to rely on you to survive, which makes her a very strong female character too, which is something we're going to get into a little bit later in the show in honor of Wonder Woman. But we'll get into that when we get into that. For the moment, keeping the focus right where it should be. I don't know. I love her so much. I know Ken Levine did a lot of interviews. He talked about that a lot, wanting to not make her annoying. He didn't want to make the entire game a fetch quest. He wanted it to be something where you felt like you were working with this person, and it does work so beautifully. Where like you won't even know half of the game where she is, but in mid battle she'll just be like, Booker, salts, or like whatever you need at that moment, she'll just give it to you.
Booker, a coin.
Booker, a bunch of coins.
I do wish, like, I know it's like one of those things where as a gamer you kind of have like a wish list and you ask developers for stuff that could be impossible or just not in the cards, but the dimension thing where it turns out to be a simple mechanic where she kind of just makes like a hook shot thing for you and or whatever, but
yes.
It'd be cool if you could it was more in depth. I feel like the dimension hopping.
Yes.
It could have been more mind blowing, but just conceptually, it's there.
It was. That's one of the few things for me looking back on it, because I forget if it was E3 2012 or 2011. Do you remember there was that one gameplay demo that hinted that like it was going to be a lot more in depth than it was in the game, even with like some of this stuff. There was some of that in it, but like I feel like there was some. I think they wanted to. I think they were held back a bit by the technology of the day.
What was his hookshot called?
The hookshot in the game. Oh, I know.
Sky hooks.
The sky hook. Yeah, I love the sky hook so much.
That was a pretty fun implementation.
Yeah. There was some cool stuff she could bring through with the portals. Like she could get she could bring you cover, I think, a couple times. Remember there was like the fireworks things or whatever she could do. She could like give you like explosive barrels and stuff, right? Or like weapons. I think there was one or two occasions that it was like something pretty sizable that she could bring through. Or maybe I'm confusing that with that gameplay demo.
No, yeah, you could bring through some like flying obstacles. There was like a balloon.
Yeah,
there were some more environmental based things that she could bring you in, items that you would pick up physically, but there were also a couple things that she could bring out that were like a diversion. It was like a
like
environmental
big physical things in the
diversion
environment
type thing.
Yeah.
It was cool also, like there was like 3 moments throughout the game where she completely like brought you guys to a new dimension, and it's just like those moments are so crazy to me because it's just like you're basically playing a new game at that point. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't seem like it because it's like the multiverse theory, how it's like it could be one minute difference or like something is crazily different.
Oh yeah.
And they explore that pretty well where you meet different characters, and like there's that whole thing of where people's like consciousness is like melding into each other, and like there's all these like weird glitches in the universe. But I just thought it was cool how like she creates these new universes and is basically God, and then you just are living in them, and that's just what it is from that point on.
That was one of my favorite elements of the game, was when they got into those alternate realities, those alternate versions. Those were the moments that I did feel like they kind of, even if in the moment-to-moment gameplay they didn't always use her ability to pull things in, those moments made it absolutely worth it. Those were I remember when that first one dropped, I had no idea that was coming. I don't know too, to kind of get back to what Dan was talking about. I do remember being there. I believe, tell me if you're wrong too. I believe I pretty much was just like, I completely understand. I just went into the other room.
I mean,
I did not fight it.
I did not fight it. See the end of the game. It might have even been more you.
I think it might. I
wanted to not see the end.
I think it might have been me. But after that happened and you finished the game, you let me borrow it. I marathoned that game. Didn't sleep for like 2 days, and I beat the whole thing on like a matter of maybe 48 hours. Probably to this day, probably.
You did. I lent it to you, and you just beat it.
Because I was on break from college. I was about to leave and go home.
Yeah, you did destroy that game on my copy. I mean, you didn't destroy my copy. But
I wrecked it by beating it very fast.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting the game a couple weeks later for my birthday, and then I I did like another playthrough.
Just couldn't get enough, could you?
Yeah, I played that game twice in the matter of like 2 months.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I played it like 2.5 times in a row too.
Yeah, and then I also probably saw that ending about 3 or 4 times, because anytime one of my friends played through the game, I would always be there at the end. I remember when Aaron played through it, you and me were there at the end, and we watched it with him. A couple different people, I think, too.
Speaking of playing games twice, there's another game whose birthday happens to be at the time that we're recording this today.
Great segue. Let's talk about it.
Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U.
Right.
Me and Ben played that game when it first came out.
Now
that was 3 years ago.
3 years ago today. Happy birthday, Mario Kart 8. Happy birthday.
Mario Kart 8. happy birthday. Sincerely. I mean that.
Happy birthday, because I know you guys have had a lot of fun. I had some fun with you guys, although I'm having so much more fun by owning the Switch and playing Deluxe right now. I know you guys are very experienced. Obviously, as you guys in the audience know, we did a pretty big section on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe a couple weeks back. I didn't have so much experience with the original, though. These guys do too, so please take it away. Tell me about your experiences with OG Vanilla Mario Kart 8.
The OG Vanilla, dude, it's great.
It tastes delicious in every way. The DLC was just it actually broke. I feel like it definitely broke some ground for Nintendo as far as DLC. Probably the best DLC pack that they ever released.
That was after the Smash, right?
It's coming out.
It was after the Smash, but I think this DLC pack undoubtedly was done more thoughtfully than the Smash one. Because the Smash, to get everything, all the additional content in Smash, costs you a fortune.
It does.
Everything that makes the Mario Kart 1 so great, the Mario Kart 8 expansion so great is, not only are the levels amazing, but the value of it. I think it was $12 for both of them, right? It was like
and you got
cups.
The Shy Guy and Yoshi skins. For buying it early.
8 cups, 6 characters.
Yeah, at the time, those extra tracks were like insane for the amount you got for the money.
And for $12, it was beautiful. At this point, it's almost like, you don't remember the time when those weren't in the game. It's just so fixed,
Was it that many? Was it 8 cups? That's crazy.
4 cups.
Oh, 4 cups. Okay.
So 16 tracks.
And they had the remakes too. Ribbon Road is like my favorite track in the game, and that's a remake of a GBA track. And the Super Nintendo and the GBA ones, remaking those is like imperative for me in terms of choosing them over like N64, just because it's basically an entire new thing because it's such a big jump.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild, as Brian was starting to say, maybe that will overtake it as far as Nintendo's best DLC is concerned. I hope that it does, but I think right now,
Korok Mask,
it's undeniably the reigning champ. Mario Kart 8's got the best DLC, and hey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC?
Wow, you guys think they're going to do that?
Could it get more deluxe?
Yeah, I think it could. I think there could be more cups. I just think that if they are actually expanding the install base of Mario Kart 8 past, Deluxe, past where the initial one ever was.
Because that was one of the things we talked about. I'm sorry, not to cut, but that was one of the things we talked about, though. Just to kind of supplement what you're saying, with Mario Kart 8 is that I feel like there's a lot of people who are playing 8 Deluxe right now who never played the original one because unfortunately the Wii U was not as successful of a system. So do you think that that's a possibility now because of that they're going to do DLC?
Yo, the relaunch that I just witnessed of Mario Kart was as if the first one never even came out, and they were promoting this on a whole new blast.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you guys mention the Target?
I don't think we did actually. No.
Target had some great. I hope that you guys listening had the chance to behold this beauty while it was still.
They had Mario Karts.
Yeah, the shopping carts became carts. The you would hear the go sound when you walked into Target. There was Lakitu hanging in the front, and when I first heard that noise when I went in, I seriously it was a lot to handle. I didn't know what was happening.
It's the fastest selling Mario Kart now with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so I'm glad they got a chance to do it again and make it the smash it deserved to be always,
Yeah, I wonder, it's just like, at what point do they decide to just work on the next Mario Kart? Or is Mario, I think for, as far as a lot of people are concerned, this could be the foundation for Mario Kart on the Switch for years
It's going to be a while.
I think it's going to be a bit. While, yeah.
They like to do those tentpole releases, like, we're lucky we got the DLC, and then I think this remake kind of puts 8 at the spot where it's like, it's going to be like 5 years until the next true installment.
Well, it's interesting, though, because the one thing is that now, for the last couple of generations, they've been alternating portable console, and it hasn't been quite as big of a difference in between. Like 7 and 8, how much, that was like a maybe 2-3 year gap in between? So I wonder if they're going to wait less time or more time now that everything's being consolidated to one platform, or if they're going to give us one last DS Mario Kart.
Yeah, I mean, Mario Kart 8 was almost Mario Kart 7 Deluxe.
So this is kind of more like
you could look at it that way. They're pretty similar in a lot of the glider stuff and the underwater. came from that.
So you're saying that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is just Mario Kart 8?
Deluxe.
Mario Kart 9 will be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Wait, so what you're saying is that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is actually Mario Kart 7 Deluxe, technically.
They might throw a super on the front of it. Who knows?
Deluxe Plus.
Technically speaking, Brian, you're absolutely correct.
Well, that's a controversial theory there, Ben.
But
it was kind of both of you in unison.
Of course, we've been playing a lot of Deluxe lately, but we've also come upon a newer Nintendo Switch game. And this is more of the reason we had Dan on, because he got some time with the Arms Testpunch.
That's right.
Unfortunately, Brian and Ben weren't really able to. They weren't able at all to catch the Testpunch.
It was unfortunate. Working. Hopefully next week.
Hopefully, is it again next week?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely next week.
Yeah, next week we're definitely gonna make a thing and get together and do it. But as for now, I'm the only one who got a chance to play it, and I have to say, my point of view on this is coming from, when I first saw on January 12th, my first glance at Arms, mm-hmm. I really, out of everything that I just witnessed, it was one of the lesser things that I was excited for, I knew in my heart that by the time that it was released that I was gonna most likely fall in love with it. But yeah, it was just definitely the least interesting thing to me at the time. I'm not so into the fighting games.
Yeah.
But I have to say now I could not be more excited for it. I thought it was brilliant in a lot of ways, and they're breaking new ground, and it's really going out there and showing that Nintendo's approach to online play, they're not going to be following anyone's trail on this. They're going to be completely thinking of their own approach to, community online play, and just, I was telling Ben the other day, since Xbox Live, that's pretty much just been...
That's been the gold standard,
That's been the standard for it, and, Nintendo's not playing that game, so...
I'm sorry, if I may, could you go into a little bit more specifics about that? Because that's been something I've been wondering since I've got my Switch, too. Like, how are they going to do some of those community aspects? So I'm wondering what you saw specifically.
Well, I don't think we've seen the full bloom of how Nintendo is going to cultivate their online community, because as we've been told, there will be a phone app that we have yet to see the culmination of. But pretty much I just thought it was really unique the way that I think it was around 8 people that were, it would party up. Kind of like that's Splatoon 2, right? Is 8 people.
Yes.
So it kind of takes that same number, which I guess is a manageable group to keep together, and then it breaks you guys off and into playing smaller games. So it'll have the players as little bubbles, and then there will be larger circles that the bubbles will then allocate to. So one of the circles will be like a 2-player fight, and then another one of the circles will be a four-player, other type of game. Like they had this volleyball,
Don't they have like a tethered where you're like co-op with someone else?
They also had that going, the tethered 4-player battles. So pretty much it just takes the 8 players that it has together, at the time, and then it throws them into these different games so that you could have quick, fast-paced games, going simultaneously, and when you finish a game, then you can see all these bubbles that I was talking about in your lobby, and you can kind of see a quick synopsis of where the battle is at, so you can see, oh, this fight is about to be over in a second because this guy has got not a lot of health,
Yeah.
And then once that bursts, then it throws, however many people, let's say there's 4 people that are waiting around, in that lobby, which you're never waiting for a significant amount of time, I really liked just how it was fast-paced, and it was just an extremely unique way of matchmaking. And it takes away, a lot of matchmaking games, you just see the pending thing where it's like just telling you matchmaking, and you have no idea what's happening, Here, you're with a group, and you're watching it make these like little mini tournament style matches with the same people that you've
so you have an
playing
understanding of the people you're playing with, you're ordering it when you're going to be playing a game, and what's going on in these other games, more or less.
Yeah, it definitely had some aspects of it that were like nothing else I've seen, and I'm excited to see where the full game, you know, takes these things, because it did feel, you know, just based on, I know how limited the Splatoon global test fire is because I've played the full game of Splatoon, and going based off that, this test punch actually felt
a lot more
way more robust than the Splatoon. You know, Splatoon test fire, I mean, it was amazing. Don't get me wrong.
It was great.
I loved it. Both of them, the one on the Wii U and the Switch one.
Could you elaborate on the controls? Tell us about the schemes you used and how that went.
Yeah, I enjoyed both the Pro Controller controls and the motion controls.
And I love the fact that that's an option. I really like that it's not just like you have to use the motion control. You can just use the Pro Controller, or you could use the Joy-Cons in controller mode if you want, correct?
Yeah. It took me some time to wrap my arms around the controls. Sorry.
That was a good one. Don't apologize.
Yeah. It took me a second to get used to everything, but once I did, and I was, you know, catching on to some of the larger techniques, you know, Nintendo is good at giving you a small amount of controls, and then you can accomplish a lot by using them, you know, in succession. Like Smash Brothers does that, and, you know, plenty of their games.
Just Mario does that beautifully.
Yeah.
Just all these little simple things that come together in, like, almost infinite ways.
Yeah, Mario, you can play it as an extremely simple game, but, you know, once you realize some of the layers of depth you can achieve with the controls and hidden moves. Yeah, I liked the way that it felt like, you know, you need to play around with it to really get the controls. You know, they could tell you what the controls are, but that's still not, you know, you got to feel it out and toss them together in different ways to really, you know, like, for example, to give you guys some, you know, tips ahead of time.
Please do.
There's a jump and a dash button, you know?
Yeah.
So combining those in different ways, you know, like jumping, dashing, and then punching from midair, you know? Like, you could do some crazy move that'll throw off your opponent, you know? And they probably threw their arm already, you know? So then you're up in the air, dashed over, punch them while their arm is still out. Yeah, there were a bunch of really cool things. I didn't quite get the hang of the volleyball thing. I was kind of getting my arms handed to me on that one.
Good
and
one.
You can also you can kind of trick the demo into getting like infinite practice mode,
which is
even when it's offline.
Me and Ben actually did get a chance to play a little bit with that last night, actually.
Yeah, so I had some drunken arms going on.
We were throwing arms.
Yes, we had a little Memorial Day arms get together.
Yeah, we just did the motion controls, right?
Yeah, no, we did the pro. You did the Pro Controls.
Oh, okay.
Too.
Yes. Yeah. Then that's vanished from my memory, but
yeah, the details might be a little
hazy. It's hazy, but I threw some punches.
Yeah, Ben was loving it.
I was having a really good time.
Ben was having the time of his life.
I think I learned that motion controls are really conducive to like a party setting.
They're
and
great.
I prefer, like, I'm really glad that the button controls are looking to be good. So, like, when I'm sitting down by myself online, I'll probably prefer that. But now I can see that motion controls are good if you're with some buddies and with some beers.
Yeah. And I can't even see from a more tactical perspective the advantage of it, but I think in some ways I might even prefer to do it that way just because I think there might be some ways that it'd be better. There might be some ways that the controller would be better, but I like the idea that there's options, there's benefits, there's drawbacks to each. And something else too Dan's bringing up with this, like that this lobby kind of setup seems a lot like what a lot of fighting games do with esports. It's interesting because I know we're talking about this too. It seems like in general they're already pushing this with Splatoon. They're doing a Splatoon Invitational on the Wii U. That was one of the things they announced way back in the April Nintendo Direct. This seems to be a big thing that they're going to be pushing with their games, which makes sense. They have these great games that are great for esports, and esports is becoming such a big part of the industry. I mean, they've already held down a big portion of it with Smash, but they never really even supported the Smash scene. Like, there's been articles written about how one of the paradoxical things about the Smash community is that it doesn't have so much direct support by Nintendo. If this is a move that shows that Nintendo is going to start getting involved in esports, that could be a very exciting thing.
And the Switch is shaping up to be like one of the best systems for multiplayer games.
Yes.
It's going back to N64 days.
And I mean, if you look at that first Switch trailer, it's even a little tilt that they're just showing,
That's right. They do have a Splatoon.
There.
They have a Splatoon 2 tournament going on.
This is the perfect thing to bring to a giant.
I feel like there's going to be that one pro player that swears by the motion controls and just whoops everybody.
Yeah. I have to say, I was messing around a bit earlier today with, the test mode thing. I forget what it's called.
Practice mode, right? Or it's like the connecting mode.
Yeah. And I was playing with the Joy-Cons in controller mode, so pretty much the same scheme as the Pro controller. And I was realizing some of the finesse and how you can achieve some of the motion control qualities with the stick, which I was learning a lot about the controls, and I'm honestly ready to kick your ass next week when we hop on this test punch.
Can you use gyro at all? Can you use gyro finagling at all when you're in?
No, but how it works is, so when you throw a punch and like with your fist a little bit tilted, it'll trail off to whatever side. You could have each arm trail left, right, or go straight.
And if you put both the Joy-Cons together, it guards. It crosses your arms like Wonder Woman. Bring it back to Wonder Woman once again.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, we have.
I'm excited.
So like I was saying, you can throw a punch with the Pro controller, or just in button mode. And once you've thrown the punch, then you can guide it left or right with the same stick that you walk with. So I was thinking at first, there wasn't a way to trail your punches to, and achieve that whole motion control thing, but I was getting a pretty good hang of how to do that with.
I think it also shows off the Joy-Con tech pretty well, because if you imagine this on Wii, it's like, I guess you can't imagine it on Wii if you just think of Wii boxing, and that's just like such a different thing where you're just waggling and punching in the air. Like, this seems like it has the technology to be more precise.
You can see the architecture and the bones of Wii boxing in there, but it is way more finesse based. It's way more of a real fighting game with finesse and stuff in there. Although it is interesting to think, were they directly inspired? Were they more inspired by like the Punch Out games? Because Nintendo does have a history with these boxing games. It's interesting to think about those aspects, because a lot of people made that Wii boxing comparison, and while I think on a surface level it's definitely correct, I don't know if, like, one thing I was saying last night is that I would want to show this game to my dad because he loved playing Wii boxing with me. I don't know if it's gonna be. It is a game though. It is complicated, and something I was noticing too was like there's a lot of finesse with using the Joy-Cons, realizing how you can tilt and turn using them, and even jumping in the air, remembering to tilt the Joy-Cons, dodging in the air.
It's less on rails.
It's less on rails, and it is more in depth and intuitive, or rather, not more or less intuitive. I shouldn't say it that way, but it is more in depth. And it takes more mental capacity.
It feels like a real game.
It feels like a real game, yes. And I don't know if it doesn't quite have that Nintendo Wii level of, anyone can play this, which is good because, to be fair, I think that was one of the things that people were concerned about with this game, that it would feel too simplistic. And it definitely doesn't.
Where the buttons controls would be gimped. It kind of to me, it seems like a beautiful mixture of the Wii Sports, Punch Out, and Splatoon.
Yeah. I think it's a really good comparison.
Yeah, the art design reminds me a lot of Splatoon.
It does. It's beautiful art design too. The game.
Yeah, it's definitely the new like modern youngster developers at Nintendo showing their stuff off.
Youngsters.
I know we were talking about this a lot. It does seem like they're letting the young team out and letting them really stretch their legs with this generation. And
because I think Splatoon on Wii U was like, just thinking back to some of the developer diary type things on E3 when it was announced. They actually promoted them as like the new guys coming to the forefront and really putting their stuff on show.
I think it's really cool that Nintendo's letting that happen, because I mean, look at what Fujibayashi-san did with Breath of the Wild. Look at Splatoon and how that's become a staple franchise now for Nintendo, and look at Arms, which is primed and potentially ready to become the next one. I think.
Yeah, it's the next Splatoon.
Yeah, and this is something really exciting. This is really the first generation. We've gotten a new swath of Nintendo mascots, Nintendo IPs. Even in the Wii era, it was more variations on classic IPs than like brand new games.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Like, since Splatoon, I feel like that was the last real IP that they came out with that was new since Pikmin. And that's a big drought, Pikmin to Splatoon. And since Splatoon, you're getting all these things. And with Switch, it's looking like they're more in tune with, like, actually putting new ideas out there.
They are. And I'm sorry, please.
No, I was going to say, furthermore on that, I think that Nintendo has done an excellent job with ARMS and Splatoon at making it just that game where, you know, if you have the Switch and you don't have ARMS, you're missing out.
Yeah.
Point blank. Like, them showing you that they're going to be putting out all of these, you know, the free update thing. That's another big likeness that it shares with Splatoon, is that they supported, you know, they did a lot of support after the fact, added a lot of weapons, maps, all free. Really awesome. And it was exciting, you know, you know, let's say you have a Switch and you're watching all of the Nintendo Directs and you're like, oh, I don't want to get ARMS. Every single Direct, you're going to be subjected to seeing there's new ARMS, there's new, like, all this awesome free content.
They showed that new character that everyone was freaking out about because she's awesome. Remember, you know what I'm talking about? Is she going to be at launch, or is she
Min?
Min, yeah, is she a download?
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure she's in the game.
I don't think Min, the other one that they showed in the most recent ARMS.
I think everything they've shown so far is on release.
Yeah, but there was one character that wasn't, or at least I didn't see her in
the Testpunch.
In the Testpunch, you know the one I'm talking about, right?
Oh, there will be more. Like the Testpunch doesn't have everything.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
They revealed a character at the end of the newest Direct, and everyone was like, she looks incredible.
Oh, Twintel?
Yeah, Twintel.
The one, she's cool because her hair is the arms, and then she's just sitting with her regular arms folded.
Yeah.
I don't need no arms.
Yeah, she's like, I'm just gonna sit here. My hair is gonna do all the talking.
I like. They're already like making iterations on their own concept.
Well, she's a very interesting, strong female character. It seems like. One thing I will say before we switch to the next topic, Zelda update real quick. I believe last week I discussed I am done with all the Divine Beasts now. I have almost all the memories. I just have 2 left. So we're gonna do. We have a couple announcements on the next couple weeks by the end of this podcast. Sometime in the next few weeks, I think we're going to be getting around to that. So keep an eye out, keep an ear out, keep an eye, ear, mouth, whole body out. We will keep you in the update. Keep it out. We'll keep you updated. Okay, guys?
Keep your arms crossed.
Keep your arms crossed. Stay strong. And on the subject of strength, and since we were just talking about a really cool female character, and since I've been dropping hints about Wonder Woman all week, guys, we thought we'd do something a little interesting. So, Wonder Woman comes out on Friday. I'm super excited. The reviews dropped today, and it seems like DC finally made a good movie. It seems like, which is amazing.
Is that what it seems like?
Yeah, it has like a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes. So
really, I'm still very skeptical.
Why are you skeptical?
I haven't liked any of their movies.
I agree, but I am very encouraged, and everything I've seen from it in terms of its trailers has actually made me very excited for this film. So.
I'm gonna pull the stick on this one, and that's a term I'm just making up right now. I'm gonna pull the stick on this one.
What is how did you create? What is the meaning of this term?
Let me just pull the stick first. Okay? I'm gonna pull the stick and say that Ben is the only one sitting at this table who, after watching Batman vs Superman, was like, I kind of like that.
That's true, and you know why? Because I let him in. True story, readers. Why you shouldn't listen to Ben.
I still only saw half the movie.
You saw half the movie.
And I enjoyed the experience, but I didn't like the movie.
Okay, but you saw the best parts of the movie because I let you and your dad and your brother in after you guys had been seeing a different movie at the theater I worked at. So you guys got to skip all the boring crap and basically just watch the ending fight scene.
I think, to be honest, I may have liked the boring crap better.
Did you watch it after the fact?
No, but I just feel like that's the kind of person I
might
am.
have liked the boring shit. I disagree
I
because
disagree.
it couldn't have been more boring. It was particularly boring.
I could not agree more. I don't think I've ever so heartily agreed with something Dan has said so readily. I agree immensely.
All right. Well,
and it's disagreeing.
We'll see.
Well, I'm agreeing with you to disagree with him.
Yeah, but still.
I'll give Wonder Woman a chance.
Yeah,
96 Rotten Tomatoes. That's hard to disagree with.
It is early though. It might go down a bit, but every review I've read from sources
it might go down a bit once people see it.
No, it has I think like something like 50 critics have seen it right now. So that's pretty decent number.
I've been reading some things, some chats with the director just about the integrity of the filming of this movie, and
it already learned some lessons.
Yeah, it seems like they're on a different path. Like,
yes,
they're on a whole different wavelength than everyone who's creating all of the other movies.
Yes. Also, trust me, Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman did not get anywhere near as kind early reviews.
That's true. The other ones were already getting like murdered at this point. Like Batman versus Superman at this point, before its release, everyone was like, "It's over." They're already like putting in they're already digging the grave and having the false tombstone installed. You know what I'm saying?
I know, but although to be fair, I remember we walked in that film and we were like, maybe it's not going to be that bad, and then we were just like,
Phantom Menace vibes.
I think it was worse because at least with Phantom Menace, people walked out and they were like there's video footage of it. People being like, "Oh, it was great! It was so great! I loved it! Best film."
The denial was on high that night.
Yes, no one could deny it after Batman v Superman. All right, so
to get into it,
to get to the real main topic, we thought you go for it. Okay, so we thought it'd be very cool to kind of talk about in honor of Wonder Woman coming out, in honor of we just had Mother's Day come past. So it's a big time. We got a lot of strong ladies in the world right now. We thought we'd talk about some of our favorite female-led stories and favorite female protagonists in video games over the years. So Ben, I'm actually going to kick it to you. You started off, my man.
Okay, yeah, I'll start it off with one of my favorites, which is Sword and Sorcery's Super Brothers EP.
Which is awesome because I didn't even know before Ben brought it up this game that you play as a female, or you play as a female character.
And I was saying, like, I always like when the gender is like not crucial, and it's just that it's this little pixel character, but she's a girl. And I got that game on iPad when it dropped. For some reason, I remember just seeing the trailer on IGN, and it just sold me immediately. I love the pixel aesthetic, and that was kind of before it was more played out with a million indie games. And also, I think I just had gotten an iPad, so it was like, all right, this is lining up for me. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna go in.
I remember you had that game when we were in college, high school rather, at the very end. I remember you brought in your iPad and you were playing with me a couple times. And this game was kind of the game that started the whole pixel art fascination, I think, or one of them at least.
It was pretty popular in that vein, yeah. And I it's very Zelda also. Like, there's a lot of Zelda nods and references, not even just the fact that it's much like it. Like, they're obviously making nods to it here and there. And I also love the mechanic of the music also is amazing, just to throw that in there. But there's this moon cycle mechanic where you have to do certain things in the plot of the game, and you can either go to this secret like cave and change the moon cycle, and so it changes the world, or you can actually wait that long in real life for the moon cycle to change, you can go into your iPad settings and actually change the date. So there's the different ways to finagle, and you don't actually have to get to the secret cave in the game.
Oh wow, that's really cool. Kind of reminds me of our conversation a couple weeks back about finagling with time to do the amiibo grinding in Zelda.
Yeah.
It's
like more built in though in Sword and Sorcery, and the whole thing is based around it's like has the aesthetic of a record player, and the music is really crucial in it. And it even comes with an album when you buy it. The album comes with it, so it's Jim Guthrie. It also got me into Jim Guthrie, which is just he makes dope music, and he did the whole album for that.
I remember one of the things I heard that had a very crucial, amazing soundtrack. Is it like a Zelda type game? Like, what is the actual gameplay like? Because I don't think I've ever played it.
It's closer to like Zelda 2 because it's a side scroller, but it's just it's more serene. Like there's very little combat and timing based stuff. It's more like just taking in scenery, and like that's my kind of thing. And it's just beautiful pixel art scenes that you want to chill out with the music.
Right. You got one for us, Danny boy?
Yeah, I actually got the perfect female-led game, and I've actually been realizing, this is a game that we actually played together the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I've been realizing, I sent a couple Snapchats out while we were playing this, and I think this is a game that, like, might have been one of the only, like, really, games on the shelf that really appealed to girls at the time. So I feel like a lot of girls ended up playing this.
Yeah.
Bratz Rock Angels.
Bratz Rock Angels.
But I know these guys really, we had a great time playing through some Rock Angels the other day. This was a game that I played a lot with my sister on the GameCube back in, what was it, 2005
Are these really strong
or 3?
female protagonists, though?
Okay. It's maybe they're not heroines because they're just, their interests lie maybe
in the mall makeup, but
magazines.
Look, I will say this though, honestly though, like as much as we all played that game to be joking around and stuff, Dan does bring up a good point. For a lot of ladies watching right now, even I know when my ex-girlfriend was like a big fan of like the Barbie games and stuff, like for a lot of women, playing those games are crucial to their experiences playing video games. So it is a valid thing to bring that up and talk about. I mean, look, and maybe that's getting into topics that's more discussed by the ladies themselves and us, but I don't think it's necessarily right to discredit those games, just on the basis of they're based on these things. Like for some women that's an important thing, and it's up to every individual person what is and isn't important to them. And if you get enjoyment out of that game as a young kid growing up, I don't think that's necessarily something to discredit,
Yeah, I mean, it's a great game, and I know a lot of people that played it, and it was definitely interesting to have people reaching out to me and realizing that this was like a popular game for some reason, which then brought me to the line of thinking, just like why did this blow up?
So a lot of like your like female friends were reaching out via Snapchat when you were snapping and being like, oh yo, this game, yeah, I remember this game.
Yeah, I know. Just like a lot of people close to me have heard of it and just played it, and it's got some original music.
It does.
All of that music in it, that they made it for that. So it's that's a strong game.
It's a strong game with
strong
females.
10, strong females. Yeah.
No, it is. Daniel, do you have any other games that you want to highlight in this section? Or Ben, you too.
I got one.
Okay.
Well, I want to give a shout out, of course, to Metroid, the series. I feel like that's an obligatory one you got to throw on the list. Also, Bayonetta is another great one.
Oh, yeah.
Bayonetta 2 on Wii U I got really into. I love that the timing based it was kind of in Breath of the Wild. I know I compared everything to Breath of the Wild these days, but when you do the dodge at the exact right time, although Bayonetta is more like the whole game is about that, doing the combos and dodging at the right time, and you get the slow motion witch time. And
it's a great
fun mechanic.
I love that game so much. The first Bayonetta, I played a bit of it on the PlayStation 3. That's a game I've always wanted to go back to because the PlayStation 3 version was actually very severely hampered. They just did a PC release, so if I get a powerful enough PC, I'm definitely going to get that. I know they also did a Wii U port, which is supposed to be a lot better, so I might... Again, I've always talked about, like, I want to get a Wii U for the sake of it. I know one of the first things I'll do is get Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2, because I don't know if those games are going to come...
I've heard rumors of
a Switch
Bayonetta
port?
3 on Switch.
I hope they do that, and then they do what they did with 2, which is they include 1 and 2. You get like the trilogy pack. I would love that.
I could see a trilogy pack.
I would buy that in an instant.
Speaking of trilogies, there might be another good one.
All right, Daniel, you got something else for us?
Alien.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how video game.
We were playing the arcade game.
Yeah,
at
we were.
Arcade.
We also did. Isolation. Isolation's a great game.
I haven't gotten the chance to really get into Isolation yet. But I love the Alien franchise. We did play the Alien versus Predator arcade game. Although Alien versus Predator doesn't really qualify as having a strong,
bit of a stretch,
strong female character. Because, I mean...
Xenomorphs
Ripley,
are female, aren't they?
I don't know, dude. I don't think they're all female.
I'm joking.
There's a queen.
There is a queen.
There's the queen. She wasn't an AVP either.
She wasn't?
I don't know.
Oh, no, she was an AVP. The Alien Queen is an Alien VP. The movie AVP? You're talking about the
Alien VP, yeah.
She's in the movie.
That's the one where the alien becomes the vice president. That's the current timeline that we're
Mike
living
Pence is a xenomorph. They don't want you to tell it. Breaking news. We're giving you the hot new.
But no, I just wanted to actually call out Bri for a quick second because of the way that he was just so sassy about I know I've been saying I'm gonna get a Wii U, but I'm not gonna get a Wii U.
I'm gonna get it.
I just want to say how far of a cry. If you go back and re-listen to that, how far of a cry that is from Brian's like hard statement. I'm pretty sure I could pull it up on my phone right now of just hard. I will own a Wii U by this time. Hold on, give me like 2 seconds.
By the end of the year is what I said. The only reason I'm being sassy, if you want to get into that, is this is something you told me about too. This is something I had ample warning about. I just didn't think about. With every passing month, I wonder if there's any left in stock.
No, there's not. But you did say you will own a Wii U.
Remember when you said you'd be Twilight Princess?
Yes, there's a lot of things I've promised. Ben.
Are they empty promises or broken promises?
They're broken promises. If there's anything I've learned, anything I've learned from the early days of this podcast is to not make hard promises. I'm not the kind of
you do it.
Yeah,
constantly.
I actually don't think you've learned that.
Well, I'm making a soft promise with Breath of the Wild right now. I'm saying in the next couple of weeks we'll have some news about when it's going to happen. I'm not saying we're definitely doing it in 2 weeks.
No, yeah, I definitely would like to listen back to when Brian was like, yeah, I'm going to be Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword before...
I'm not going to...
This was like a week before Breath of the Wild, too.
That was like a month before Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, no, it ranged from like 4 months, and then nothing happened, and then he was still saying it up until a week that Breath of the Wild was coming out.
I think I can still be Twilight Princess. I think I can do it.
Still...
Okay.
You guys, anything else on deck? Actually, Brian,
I had a couple
the first one
things.
you mentioned before to me, you had one.
I had a couple.
There's some blatant.
There's some blatant ones that I think we missed over. So number one, obviously, you have to mention Miss Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider. So it's an interesting pick, that one, because some would argue whether she's a strong female character. Some would argue about some of the specifics of it. An interesting thing, we don't want to get too much, obviously, into that political aspect of it, but something interesting that I think would be fun to bring up is that the original intention of the developer, Toby, I'm not 100% sure in his last name, but my dude Toby, he was the original developer with Core Design. He created the concept of Lara Croft. Originally, fun fact, you guys might not know this, it was supposed to be like an Indiana Jones game, and the original character is supposed to be like an older Indiana Jones ripoff. And somewhere along the way, they decided, nah, this is dumb. We don't want this. We should get like a lady Indiana Jones type thing going on. He created the character, and she was always designed to be this very intellectual, very strong, very powerful character. As it went on, she obviously became something of like a sex symbol, though, which was interesting. Like, you guys might know there was a whole thing with like the nude mod and all this stuff, but that was never really his design for her. After Tomb Raider 2, he actually left Core Design because he was upset with the direction they were taking her in. He actually later came back for Tomb Raider Legend, which was a little bit of a course correction after Core Design had led the series astray. A new developer, Crystal Dynamics, which are the people that are still doing the games. So he brought it kind of more back in that direction, and now with this new series, it's very desexualized to the point that she's just a real human being. Some would argue maybe some elements of like the violence against her is a little exploitative, but I think she's playing through the 2013 reboot. I was very struck by her character and how strong she was and how much I was attached to her character. Ben, I know we've talked about this. That's the one thing that you love about that game too. The 2013 Tomb Raider reboot. You really did get attached to her character, correct?
I do like that game, yeah.
Yeah. I believe your exact words were, she's great, the rest of the characters not so much, but...
Was that a quote?
I believe that's something you said.
No, yeah, that was it, where, like, none of the other characters seemed fleshed out, and, like, they kind of couldn't do anything for themselves. It was almost like they put all their resources into making the one character.
Yes, and, I mean, to be fair, if you're going to reboot a character like that, I think that's the most important thing to do. From what I hear, they kind of did correct that, and the supporting characters have more life in the character. And Rise of the Tomb Raider, the sequel, which I still really want to play. I hear it's great. So we'll see about that. I'd like to check that out. But I've always loved Tomb Raider ever since I was a young kid.
There's also another one that I think that we're forgetting, a big one.
There is a big one.
Portal?
Well, Portal, duh.
Portal's a big one.
Yeah, wow, I can't believe I forgot that.
That's silly. Dan, talk to us about Portal. We've talked a lot about Portal already.
Portal is it's great fun, guys. Yeah, if you haven't played Portal, it's one of the best games of all time. So
get on your shit.
Definitely should be. That's essential playing. But yeah, Shell is interesting because in that game, the main character, you don't really see her. She doesn't speak.
Oh, you can see her though.
Yeah, but you see her. The only way you see her is in a mirror
or through portals.
Through a portal or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely don't. She's
another one like Sword and Sorcery where it's really of no consequence. she's just a dope character.
Yeah, she's dope.
I guess to kind of round it off and end it on one game. If there's one game I could bring up that's maybe a example of the opposite, where I don't think it's necessarily about the character's gender, but I do think that the character's gender does play into it a bit in a good way, in a way where it is informing the storytelling. Is Gone Home. Specifically in that game, the main character you play as is kind of a husk that you view the world through, but it's very importantly the older sister of the main character that we experience the game through. And her story is beautiful and devastating and all these things, and we learn about it in such a unique way of going through her room and seeing these things and getting all the possessions of this person, and that's such a beautiful, unique, singular type of game where it does feel like you're experiencing one human being's experience in a very particular way, you know?
Yeah, Gone Home is one of my favorites. I really love that game so much. That really was moving when I played it, and I also really like it's got music by an all-female band in it. There's
I know the one you're talking about. There's Bratmobile and another. It's all like the Riot Girl bands.
Yeah, I think it was literally Riot Girl.
Yeah, well, the Riot Girl's the name of a genre, but there was a band called Bratmobile that's music is in it, but they're
that's the name of the band in it.
There's two bands in it. One is Bratmobile, they're an older band. Then there was a newer Riot Girl band that did music under a fake name, but I don't remember what the fake name was.
Gotcha. Well, I'm ignorant, I guess, but
it's okay. We're all learning things.
I mean, I loved the game. I really liked the music in it as well, and I just loved the characters, and I love how it built upon characters that you never even saw. You know, both the person that you're investigating, and also the people just surrounding that person. You know, like you do see pictures probably of the main person who you hear the voice of, but they speak about people. You know, there's a lot of people that are unseen, but you really just feel
Sam, right? That was her name. The sister's name was Sam, I think, right?
I believe so. Yeah, it's been a couple of years since I played it. I'm really excited for that studio's next game.
Oh, Tacoma.
Yeah,
it looks really cool. Yeah,
looks awesome. Yeah, I love seeing the updates for that on Twitter.
Tell you what, that might factor into the next thing, the next time we have you on the podcast, Danny boy, because I know Tacoma is something I'm interested in talking with you about too. It looks awesome though. Did you watch any of the gameplay? I know Kind of Funny had like an exclusive 20-minute gameplay thing.
Oh really? No, yeah. I haven't seen that.
You should check it out. It's really worth watching.
Yeah, there's one more character that I wanted to mention because
go for it.
I'm not sure that this game is necessarily female led, although it is. I mean, there's definitely an argument that can be made that it is pretty female-led. The Last of Us.
Oh yes.
Ellie in The Last of Us.
Absolutely.
And I mean, we don't know, but we could have one of the greatest female-led games coming down the pipe if The Last of Us 2 is as people are predicting. Not to mention the predictions. If we want to get into predictions, this DLC that we were speaking about earlier, it's possible we'll even have some Zelda DLC.
Left Behind type thing. Do you want to? We can get into Left Behind because that's really like her like big starring moment. In a lot
I actually haven't played Left Behind.
You know what? I haven't either. But no, I'm sorry. Please keep going.
Yeah, I will need to play Left Behind and speak about that in the future. Definitely want to play that before I get into The Last of Us 2. But hey, Ellie is just one of the realest characters. That's just a beautifully crafted character, and
she's fantastic.
I mean, I loved the trailer for the next game. I can't wait to see, if she's we're going to see her character taken to the full next level of that arc, and I'm really excited because she's just, she's got some awesome stuff about a character. She's been lied to, and I think a lot of her character has been built on lies, and I get the feeling that they're going to, pull the stick, as a wise man once said.
I still don't know what this metaphor is,
but I love it. Let the tension break. It's like if you got a giant pile of sticks or something, like
you
Lincoln
pull the
log.
stick out, and
if you pulled the Lincoln log, pull the stick.
Do you have anything more to say about Ellie, or are we?
I love her. Can't wait to see her story go on.
I'll say this. I don't want to get so much into the Last of Us 2 debate, but as you know, Dan, we obviously weren't doing the podcast. I don't think I've ever talked about this on podcast. I was not a fan when that trailer dropped. I was very vehement about the fact that game ended on a perfect note. I did not want any more. But I've begun to come around to the potential a bit, and I'm very excited to see where they go with her specifically, because her character is beautiful. Ashley Johnson, the actress who plays her, is a phenomenal actress. She does a great job with that character.
You don't think she's beautiful?
Well, I think she's a beautiful person too. Yes, but either way. Oh boy. Anyway, I think there's a lot of potential with that game. I'm super
Ashley,
excited.
if you're hearing this, Brian's blushing.
Fucking hate you, Dan.
He is actually.
I am actually blushing. All right, so on that note, characters that blush when they're around girls. Maybe it's time to talk about our old buddy Raz and Psychonauts a little bit.
Yes.
It's a good segue. All right.
Game Club Week 2.
Game Club Week numero 2. So, Danny boy, just stick around. Feel free to chime in. But me and Ben have some experiences we got to talk about. So, Ben, start us off.
So, we left off last week. Just before continuing in your own mind, being Raz's mind. Mm-hmm. And if you go a little further in that, you get to this blockade on what I think he described was the giant thorn tower.
Yes.
And it turned out to be like some weird nose smell sprout. And yeah, so you're in Rasputin's head, and you get to another blockade, and I kind of noticed how you keep going a little bit further in your own dream.
Yeah.
And then you get blocked, and that's where you have to get like a power from another person.
Yes, I forgot how structured this whole segment was. 'Cause I was remembering the game more as a segment of different levels. You go to each council, you do a thing. I forgot how much that element of your own personal memory played into this early part of the game.
It's much more linear so far than I imagined.
Yes, because I was picturing the game as more Mario 64-esque, and I think in a lot of ways the game is with its overworld Mario 64-esque, but it is a way more linear story.
You just can't choose, yeah.
You can't choose. I'm trying to
remember. I don't know
remember.
if it'll open or not, but
I really can't remember right now. But the stages themselves are fantastic and very inspired, so that's been fun to play through at least.
So basically, you get to a spot where you need a new power, which is the levitation, and that leads you to Mila's dance party,
which is a fun little
the
level.
first main level we did, which is basically, it seems like some of the levels are just tutorials for the power,
yes,
and others are actual levels. This seemed more like a fun kind of crash course in this new levitation power.
Yes, it's not a full level. I'm fairly certain it's not the last we've seen of it, though.
Of her brain.
Yes, and again, I'm not operating on any knowledge of things I know from future in the game. We're actually pretty much right up to the part that I finished playing the game anyway, so I really don't know anything. But I have a feeling, just based off of, have you noticed that whenever you get one of the safes and you see their little memories, if you go into your journal afterwards, there's like multiple spots. There's
okay. Yeah, you could kind of.
There's like tiers, so that implies you go back into everyone's brain at some point, basically.
Yeah, it's cool when you can kind of pick out clues from the menus and whatnot, and how your collection will go. But so yeah, she's on the pier, and you got to get a canoe from the another like Ford clone guy, and I had a little trouble getting the canoe. At first, I tried to like trick the game, or like I knew it was the wrong thing to do, but I was doing like double jumps over the piers and trying to, you could hop along the water before the monster catches you with the hands. Oh. So I was trying to get over there, but I was like, all right, I'll do the actual what it wants me to do. And then you get a canoe, and her level is of course they're all themed towards the character, and another one of them is you're in this like big disco party, and it turns into it felt a bit like Mario Kart once you get the rolling ball part of it and you go through that. Did you win the race your first try?
No, I played through it a couple times.
Okay, so you had to win the race.
No, you don't have to, but I just went back to and
you just did it for fun. Because I won it the first try, and I was wondering if you actually had to beat it.
I don't think you do. I redid it just for the hell of it, because I was anal retentive. I did it before I could even get any message about whether or not I had to redo it. I literally just hit start and like reloaded the section. So we should reload it and check. I have a feeling that you don't have to, though. I distinctly remember that, but I could be wrong. So I'm unsure, more or less. I could see it going either way based on the game's design. I could see it not being something you have to do, but I also maybe could, So
yeah, you get the new power comes with like a super bouncy jump, and also gives you a kind of floaty like thing. What would you call it? You can float downward.
It's like
a parachute.
Orb. It's like a mental orb, right? Or they have a name for it in the game.
I'm trying to describe it though.
It's like a glider kind of.
Yeah, it's like a glider. It's almost like a paraglider, you know.
You mean like a Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild paraglider?
I swear I'm getting some weird like. There's a lot of little similarities that like weirdly, like
interesting.
Even just outside that level on the pier, you can climb the trees and jump off and then use the gliding downward, and it's just that's like an exact moment from Zelda. But
it is.
And some of the design, like the little creatures and birds all around that you can.
Yes, and regardless of whether or not we remember the name, when you get every little thing in the game, it actually has like a very Metroidvania-esque feeling in that hub world, because there's a lot of things, as I'm sure you've realized, you can now access because you have that double jump ability, because you have that gliding ability. The world does open up the more and more that you do these things.
Yeah.
And even if it's just the open world elements and not quite the individual levels, there's so many cool collectibles in that camp. I love that part of the game.
So you get the new power, and then the game tells you to head back to the Sasha's lab, where you go back into your own mind again. I want, if I may, I just want to make one correction here. On my little post that I put on Twitter last week, guys, I just want to say I'm very sorry. I put his name as Sasha 9, like the number 9, when it's very clearly Sasha 9, like no in German. So, which is Sasha no. That's a pretty nice little joke in and of itself. So, I apologize to Tim Schafer. Eric will Paul directly. I let you down. So you go to Sasha 9's lab, and you go back into your own brain and continue along the path, which I always like when the Metroidvania blockade, where you go back to the area and the actual barrier is like a super simple thing. Like you just had to glide upward on one stream of air.
And there's something really nice about that, where even in the game and its writing, like it feels like a clever little thing as opposed to just like a very arbitrary boundary. Or maybe it's highlighting the fact that it is like an arbitrary boundary, but it feels clever.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
So and then you end up in the room with your dude Dogen. And then you kind of learn of the plot of the evil plot of the game. Where is that the guy, the main evil guy who like extracted his brain? Is he gonna actually be the main villain?
I think so.
Know? Okay.
I think it's going in that direction. I'm honestly trying to remember, to be honest.
That was a great scene though, the brain extraction.
Oh yes.
He just empties his entire consciousness into the garbage, and then each time it happens, it's like they're probably making a commentary on this, but they're just like TV, and like all they want to do is just be couch potatoes, and so play games and don't watch TV all day. But
I wonder if it's more like a poking thing on the fact that every kids who is playing this game's parents is probably like, you'll fry your brain. I wonder if that's supposed to be more of a knowing joke for kids and their parents. About like the dangers, quote unquote, of maybe that's just me coming from an environment where my parents were very on me about that as a young kid. But at least that's what I think.
And then you go into this weird you go through the garbage hatch where his brain went into, and it was this weird conceptual like blueprint tank battle. Like I didn't quite get what they were going for with like the metaphors on that one, but it was probably my favorite boss fight so far.
You know what? I think that part is less of a metaphysical thing and more of an homage to the old school. Remember, like the old school low poly like tank simulator games that there used to be.
Yeah, it did. It gave me twinges of like those paper tank games, like like where you'd flick pencils and stuff and have a war battle.
Yeah, there was an old Microsoft like tank simulator game too. It was very low poly. I think Doom, actually, the Doom guys did like a tank sim game too. There was like a lot of that stuff on like early PC games, and Tim Schafer's of that old school 90s PC world, even though he was doing more adventure games. So it feels more like he's referencing like his contemporaries and their past endeavors. It does feel like a paper like that paper game, or even just like something you as a kid would make on like the lunch table.
Yeah, I think also just the blueprint aesthetic reminded me of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't have much trouble with that boss battle. It was probably the least frustrating to me so far.
Yes.
And after that is I don't remember it too clearly, but the next plot point is what was it called? The monster? What was its name?
Well, there's a part in between, and then you go down under the lake because your girlfriend gets sucked in.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm alluding to. Is it eating your girlfriend?
Yes, it eats your girlfriend and the lake monster, which is.
I'm just trying to remember what they called it. It was like because then lungfish, right?
Lungfish.
Then you go to Lungfishopolis.
Yes. Oh, you Lungfishopolis.
And so yeah, you gotta save your girl, and you basically you go under the lake, right?
Yes, you go under the lake.
And that was just like a weird, like, it was like a boss level.
Yes.
Where you're going along platforming in this weird bubble. How did you do on that part?
I did okay. So this was like the very last section I did during that initial PC playthrough. So again, one of the things I've been bringing up is that when I played on my old PC, I had a lot of slowdown issues, a lot of frame drops, so I thought at least things would go better. Something that I didn't really bring up last week that's really starting to bother me now is the fact that the version I'm playing on my PlayStation 4 is a port of the PlayStation 2 version of the game. So Ben, I don't know if you would know this because of the game's history, but the game was originally, we talked about this a bit, the game was originally designed as an Xbox game, which means it took advantage of the Xbox hardware, which means that it didn't run that well on PlayStation 2.
It seemed like it was designed for PC though. Like all the PC prompts are glued to the game too.
Oh yeah, well I think it's just Xbox to PC was like a better, I don't know why that thing with the prompts is the case, but the game is known to run a lot better on Xbox and PC than it did on PlayStation, and unfortunately in this section that was to my detriment. The slowdown wasn't as bad as it was when I was playing on my old PC back in 2010, and having a controller made it run a lot smoother, but that is a frustrating segment. You're being chased by the monster for a bit of it too, so it's kind of, I mean, like, it's got like that classic, you know, like, it almost felt like a Crash Bandicoot level, actually.
Oh, yeah, true. I was going to say it kind of felt like a Bowser level, but Crash is more on point, I think.
Something about, like, the camera movements, like, I remember back in the day, and even now, I think a lot of Crash in that segment. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was pulling from Crash as much as Mario 64. Those were, like, I mean, it seems like he's pulling from all the great platforming games with this game. It was also the first game Double Fine did as a studio. This is something we were talking about, too, is that in this section too, it's kind of clear how some of the mechanics are a little unrefined. I know you were having some trouble with this section too.
Yeah, well, more like in the actual boss fight after the platforming part.
Yeah.
But the thing was that I died a few times and had to do the entire platform part over again.
That really annoyed me too.
Before getting back to the battle.
I feel like I'm sorry. Yeah. No, please you go.
Because like, well, you know how you get to the third phase and his like dangler. You have to trap his dangler. I couldn't figure out like the clamshells. I kept trying to time hitting them to trap him, but you just had to pretty much he would trap himself and you stand there.
Yeah, you have to. It's annoying because you think there's something you have to do, or like you have to use like a power. I remember that messed me up a lot too when I was both times I played the boss battle. That messed me up. So I definitely feel you on that. It makes me feel good that you struggled with that too, because I was wondering at the time and even now if that was just me being a little impaired with platforming games. I mean, I've played Mario with you. You know that it's maybe not my best genre. So, I love this game, and I love the story of this game and the characters, and a lot of times I think the gameplay is fantastic. For instance, the next level we're going to play, Lungfishopolis, I only played a bit of it, but it is by far one of my best favorite sections in the entire game. It's literally the last thing I played was I only played about half of Lungfishopolis, but it was so good. And I really can't wait for you to play it because you're going to love it.
It looks good because I saw the beginning of it. You go right after the boss battle, you enter the boss's brain, and it's just this pretty hilarious cutscene where every citizen is like a lungfish monster.
A little baby, and it's like a riff on Godzilla where you're the giant monster.
And it had like a funny like Swedish accent or something. It looks good though. I'm excited for this next level.
It's a great level, and even and just to get back on point, I mean, even if there's some elements of the platforming that don't hold up quite as well, and some of it too, I wonder, like with the getting brought back to the beginning, I wonder if that's more just how old the game is, you know, like, because like I do feel like in platformers at the time that was a little bit more common.
Yeah.
Because checkpoint systems weren't quite as much of a thing. with save states and stuff, games didn't quite work that way, you know?
And we were saying also it seems like the writing holds up more than the gameplay.
Yes.
And maybe also the writing is like a level above most writing, and the gameplay was kind of on par for when it came out.
I think that's exactly it, and I think that's one of the interesting things when you watch the evolution of Double Fine as a studio, because they're one of my favorites. They have, since that game, I think the height of their time was actually probably 2009 through 2011, 12, which is they did Brutal Legend, which is a great game, and then they did a bunch of small games in between. So that I think was like the very height of the studio. I feel like in a lot of ways Psychonauts was them learning the ropes, and even now, I mean, they went back to the adventure game. Like, they've become a lot more experimental in their genre and the type of game they're making. I think there's a lot they've learned since doing Psychonauts, even though Psychonauts is such a classic game for its writing and for the time. Again, some of the platforming segments hold up very well. It's not like the entire game is that way. So, and hey, I'm just very enthralled, especially now that we're getting to a point that we're past what I've seen. I really just want to keep going and keep playing this game and seeing everything it has.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm enjoying it.
So, anything else on Psychonauts for the week, Ben?
I think that covers most of what we played. For next week, we're going to do the next 2 sections, of course, Lungfishopolis, and then the one after that is called The Milkman Conspiracy.
Yes, and we're going to the end of The Milkman Conspiracy. So, same thing as every week. We're going to put the info up on Twitter, as well as in some other places. All right, guys. So, on that note, Ben, reach over here. We
do a triple handshake.
All right, Ben, Dan, get in here, too.
I'm going to grab all hands involved.
All right.
There you go.
I am shaking Dan and Ben's hands, listeners, at the same time. But metaphysically, as always, I am reaching out, shaking your hands as well. I hope you liked hearing us in our velvety, smooth voices in this new setup. Dan, thank you for the mics.
Yeah, and if everyone wants to do a Twitter plug, I'm at KeepPluggin.li.
Where else can we find you, Ben?
And Keep Pluggin everywhere else. Of course, hit up the YouTube.
Of course, we got hot, new, spicy content.
Some good content, spicy content.
Spicy, hot tuna content. Dan, where can we find you, Hot Tuna?
I'm Earl of Rumham. Earl of Rumham.
Everywhere?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Listeners, you already know what it is. You can find me on Twitter at HiThereBigFella. You can find me on Snapchat as just Sansman. That's Sans_man.
He doesn't open the Snapchats though, so you can send him.
He's got a lot of dormant snaps from us.
But when I open them, I will love every single one of them. That's all I'll say. Anyway, you can also find me on Instagram as _Sans_man. And on that note, listeners, thank you for coming and keep plugging.
Keep plugging.
Keep plugging.
All right, guys. Good night.
Plug.
There's a bee.
That bee didn't die. Unlike all the bees